running up the score. Jerry.
He just sucks.
He's not good.
let's just put it out on the table. He's not a good quarterback.
Tom.
Oh, way to join a team that already won a title.
Let's hope some people still get thrown at and, get hit in baseball.
Keep it interesting.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Where's that quarter? Let me look at that one more time.
I dare you to watch it and tweet us. Tell us, oh, you know what? This is a hell of a sport.
Where's this been all my life? I'm done. No, done. This is running up the score.
It is running up the score.
We're done here.
All right.
We're done here.
This is running up the score. And it starts now.
All right, it's time to run up the score. Running up the score with Jerry Napoleonello, 605 562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. Brought to you by Yelphi Sports App. We are live on Zeno Live and Periscope. Again, I'm here with Tom Gallippani. The call-in number is, as always, 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. We got a lot to get to today. So you would have thought things would have cooled down when it comes to the Cowboys. Nope. It's just continued heading into camp. Every team is making their way into camp. It's here, Tom. Football season is here. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. It's that time of the year. It's getting there.
Yeah.
Weather's getting a little slightly cooler.
You could see it. The hashtag, as they've been saying on the news, hashtag Summer of Hell, looks to have taken a little bit of a break.
I wore sweatpants yesterday, and I enjoyed every second of it.
I was wearing a tank top.
We're in different areas of our lives.
The Dodgers haven't lost a step yet with losing, losing Clayton Kershaw for a little while, 4 to 6 weeks. I'm hearing. There's a lot of buzz in the NBA. Just the fact that we are still talking about the NBA is great for them. There was a disturbing article that came out the other day, I think it was actually yesterday, associated with the NFL, and it's an issue.
Yes.
It was
not good.
Yeah.
Not good.
Got a great show ahead of us. Thank you to our sponsor, Yelphi Sports App. You can download the app from the iTunes App Store by searching Yelphi. It's spelled Y-E-L-L-F-Y. Make sure to follow me at Jerry RUTS Sports and Tom at Tom RUTS Sports. And we'll shoot you a follow back. It's a great app. But first, remember to join in with our conversation through the next hour here by calling in at 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. Or tweet us at RUTS Sports. You can also follow us on Instagram, also at RUTS Sports, and like our Facebook page as well. So, how was your weekend?
It was good. Not bad.
Yeah?
Taking care of business.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Not much going on in the sports world.
No, it's one of those weeks.
Yeah.
Dog days of summer, this tends to happen around this time.
Yeah. I mean, we've been lucky lately.
We've had some good ones.
We've had some really good shows lately. We've had a lot to talk about, and it's nice for us. Usually the people that are in this business, that are obviously getting paid and they're employed for being on the air, like your big names, hosts. This is around the time that everybody starts to take their breaks, to take their vacations, because it's right before football starts. Camp just started, so usually it's like right around, the week before or so before camp, because everything starts to happen during camp. And when it comes down to the Cowboys, there's
no time off for them.
There's no time off, not at all. But before we get into the NFL, because we're definitely going to get into the NFL later with that disturbing article on CTE. And, we've been hearing about CTE for a little while now.
This might be the most compelling
because it's definitely, as I said, it's disturbing. But another disturbing thing in sports is Kyrie Irving wants out.
This kind of was like a big surprise too when it first happened because no one really knew why he wanted out. No one really knew any details. It was just Kyrie wants out, which is like, whoa, you're with LeBron James. Why would you want out? And, credit to him. He wants the chance to lead a team, be the vocal point, which as a point guard, it should be that way.
Absolutely.
And I remember seeing some comments like, oh, yeah, it went great the first time you did that.
Yeah.
He was a rookie, people.
On
a terrible team that drafted him first for a reason because they were awful. Now that he has championship under his belt, he has playoff experience, he's gotten tutored from LeBron, I'm sure. He wants to take his talent elsewhere. And I think the big thing about this is he fears LeBron's going to leave next year.
Yeah.
In which case, Cleveland will not let him go.
Yeah.
Because he's the best player on that team at that point in
definitely.
time. So they're going to do everything they can to keep him. So if he leaves now, as opposed to waiting until LeBron leaves, this makes it much easier for him to get out now.
Oh, absolutely. And like, I understand where he's coming from. At first it was like you just went to 3 straight finals, and you're almost 110%. The chance of you getting to another finals this year. Maybe he's looking at it like, you know what, as good as we are, and we're probably going to make the finals, we're still not going to beat Golden State, and I understand that too because it's not going to happen.
I agree.
But from what I'm hearing, actually, I think it was I heard it on Colin Cowherd, the Herd today, where it was basically after they won their championship. So that was 2 years ago. LeBron went to the Cavaliers brass and asked them to trade Kyrie for Chris Paul.
And
why?
This is why LeBron James is a terrible GM.
Exactly. It's like, why? For what? Why would you make that trade? Kyrie's the reason why you won the finals with that big shot.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are you doing? And
correct me if I'm wrong. Has Chris Paul ever even been out of the
second round
in the conference finals?
Yeah. So it's like I don't understand, and this is the reason why I was so skeptical about the Houston Rockets deal, where now it's Chris Paul and James Harden. I don't see how that works. First of all, and second of all, Chris Paul is a great point guard, but is he a championship-worthy point guard?
Hasn't shown it.
He hasn't shown it. He's had good teams, especially in L.A. He's had really good teams.
I think that's also a fault of the overrated Doc Rivers.
Oh, yeah, and it's
Extremely
also the overrated Blake Griffin as well. But, just altogether, it just...
They still should have been able to accomplish more than they
absolutely.
did.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I just, like I said, I don't understand, why LeBron would ask for that, first of all, but... listen, I understand where Kyrie's coming from. And I still remember, the chances of LeBron leaving Miami and going to Cleveland. I remember the reports saying that Kyrie wants out. Like right away, he didn't want to play with LeBron. And because I remember it specifically because I've always liked Kyrie, and I wanted him to actually go to the Lakers. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe the Lakers should try to go for a trade. And that was before Kyrie was Kyrie. Now Kyrie is one of the best, and in my opinion, I think he's the best point guard in the league.
He's got the best handles by far.
Scoring wise and defensive wise, but you know what? Steph Curry's not a great defender.
Way worse than Kyrie
point
is.
guard. Yeah. So I can see both sides of it. That's the thing. Like I can see where people are coming from, where it's like, why would Kyrie even think of doing something like that? With LeBron, he's got the life. You're going to go to the finals. Even Damian Lillard came out saying, why would you not want to go to, a finals every year? And I understand that, but Damian Lillard hasn't been there yet. Kyrie already has his championship. So now he wants that next step. He wants his own team. And he's that great of a player to be able to have his own team.
And there should be no one getting on this guy's case for that.
No.
For that reason, because we get on Kevin Durant all the time. We've done it. I'll do it right now if I have to. But, everybody jumps on Kevin Durant for joining Golden State. Kyrie wants the opposite of that.
Yeah.
He wants to start like a new Golden State Warriors, if you will. He wants to be a leader. And that's something you have to respect. The only questionable thing of this is one of the teams that was on his list.
Yeah, that was a questionable thing. I mean, we even just spoke about it. Why even put the Knicks on there?
Like, we get it. As you said, it's like the hometown. And
that's
your team.
the thing. He's from New Jersey. That's basically. I mean, obviously now that the Nets aren't in New Jersey anymore, that's basically his home team is the Knicks. So I understand in that point.
But they are
and also
a mess.
like it's definitely his team. Like he would be the best best player on that team. It'd be his team, and no matter what, and it always goes to the same thing, and we've even spoken about it just in different sports, and we were talking about it 2 shows ago when we were talking about Aaron Judge and the fact of Bryce Harper and Mike Trout, just like the face of baseball. It's New York. Everything happens bigger in New York. So if he was to take over the Knicks, and it's his team. And God forbid, which would never happen, but he takes them to the finals. You're a god in New York, and when you're a god in New York, you're a god
and
everywhere.
That's exactly what Carmelo has been trying to do, is just get to that point, as in the finals, where he can go anywhere in New York, and he's just recognized.
He's not that type of
a
player,
living legend.
Though.
No, he's not. But it's in the same sense of this is what Kyrie wants to do on a new team, and if he did it on New York, I mean, you are
absolutely.
set.
Look at Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter did it with the Yankees, and he's a god.
Yep.
Just everybody.
Mark Messier is up there with the New York legends, and hockey isn't even that crazy in New York, but he's still immortalized in this state, in that city.
Look at Eli Manning. Eli Manning is immortalized in this, and he's not even He's not even that great of a quarterback, which people are probably going to hate me, for
rings though, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Like, listen, don't get me wrong. Eli Manning is a great quarterback. Do I think he's a elite quarterback? Do I think he's a Hall of Fame quarterback? Not really, but those 2 rings are going to help him into the Hall of Fame.
He's a postseason quarterback.
Yeah, and
it's a big moment, which is a good thing, a good quality to have. Obviously,
yeah, and even then, though, his Super Bowl runs. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's some.
It wasn't like Flacco's
some players.
Either.
Yeah, there's some players that kind of took the weight off of his back a lot, because I mean, let's go back to, and I know we're talking about Kyrie and LeBron here, but we're going a little off task. But
that's what we do.
When you go into that and you look at some of the runs that he had, like the 2 runs that he had at a Super Bowl. The first one, they're playing in Lambeau. It's like -13, -15 degrees outside. His throws were not on point. Plaxico Burress single-handedly got them out of that game with a win. Eli Manning, all he had to do was just throw it up, and Plaxico was coming down with it. So, that, and then, obviously the helmet catch, that's...
The one we have to give some credit was in the second Super Bowl, the sideline throw. That was a good throw.
That was a good throw, but that was also a good catch. I mean, Manningham keeping his feet in, that's, that's a solid all-around play there.
Definitely.
It just,
No, I'm with it. He gets way too much credit for the helmet catch. Way too much credit.
And you know why?
Well, I mean...
Because he did it in New York. It's in New Jersey.
He avoided the sack, too.
Yeah. No, that was the luckiest part. I don't even think the catch was the luckiest part of that play. Him breaking out of a tackle was the luckiest part of that play. And I tell that to everybody all the time. I'm like, no, I'm not saying that the catch was lucky, which it was. But, let's not go too far here, because him breaking out of a tackle. I mean, that guy never broke out of a tackle. He would just go down if you pushed him.
It's very true.
So that I thought was the luckiest part of that play. But I digress when it comes to Eli Manning. I don't want to talk about him anymore.
Let's not start a ruckus here.
Football season's coming up, and it's the Cowboys. Oh boy, we'll get into that in a little bit. But it's a funny little nugget that I saw. Now with Kyrie has 4 teams out there that he would like to play for.
Which, by the way, I just want to throw this in here. Cleveland does not have to listen to him at all.
No.
They do not have to listen to these 4 teams. He does not have a no-trade clause. I believe the only 2 players that do are LeBron and Carmelo.
Yeah.
I might be mistaken. It might be more, but Cleveland does not have to listen to this guy, and they probably won't because whoever gives them the best offer is where he's going. But I digress, as you just stated.
Well, speaking about New York, real quick, we just got breaking news.
Oh, this is what we needed.
The Jets claimed wide receiver Lucky Whitehead from the Dallas Cowboys.
Fitting.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
fitting. Okay.
Absolutely. We'll discuss Lucky Whitehead if you haven't heard.
Very bizarre.
Yeah, just his name doesn't really work for him, I guess you could say. It's the opposite. But going back to this, he has 4 teams out there that he would like to play for. San Antonio, a great fit. Minnesota, amazing fit. Miami, questionable.
Well, I think with Miami, he wants stability.
Yeah.
In terms of head coach and GM.
And you know what? The funny thing about Miami, I mean, one of the big things when we were talking about, just their big 3, when it was D Wade, when it was LeBron, and it was Chris Bosh, it was like, all right, well, these guys are just going to carry Spoelstra. Spoelstra actually turned into a really good coach.
He is a good coach.
So, and he's showing that now. I mean, the fact that, Miami was what? 20-something games under 500 this season, and they got to the point where
they almost made the
playoffs.
Yeah.
So, they were one of the hottest teams after the All-Star break.
So I think Miami's big thing is Pat Riley's always going to be there.
Yeah.
And Spoelstra's going to be there for the long term.
Yeah, and then you got Hassan Whiteside.
Yeah.
You got
it's stability with that
absolutely.
team. Same thing with San Antonio. Popovich isn't going anywhere. The GM's been there in place, so he's
and you got
to get out of
Kawhi,
this.
so you could set up something.
You have such a mess in Cleveland with GMs going in and out every 2-3 years. LeBron's basically the coach GM. There's Tyronn Lue, David Blatt. It's all these different people.
When you look at it, if you actually listen to Richard Jefferson's podcast, Richard Jefferson really said that he understands where Kyrie was coming from because it kind of ramped up. His unhappiness really ramped up after they got rid of David Griffin. So right there, that's Dan Gilbert's problem. So this could be, because of Dan Gilbert. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I think it's gotten to the point now that you have to get rid of Kyrie because now it's just it's just horrible going on right now. I mean, after this whole news came out, Kevin Love tweets out kick rocks, this and that. LeBron, their sources coming out with Stephen A.
Did this.
It's saying that LeBron's camp was the one that leaked the Kyrie news. So Kyrie wasn't happy with LeBron.
Fired shots at Stephen A.
LeBron fired shots at Stephen A. because Stephen A. said that there were sources saying that if Kyrie was in front of LeBron James, that LeBron would be, I guess, pushed to kick his ass. It's something like that. This has just turned into a bad marriage.
Yeah.
This is just dysfunctional.
And I guess the unfortunate thing for the side of the Cleveland Cavaliers is now that all of this is out, his return value is getting worse and worse in a sense because everybody knows he wants out,
and he
definitely
will got to happen.
And it's definitely got to happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is their own fault.
Yeah,
in the Cleveland Cavaliers.
So, everything kind of is to the point where it's got to happen. Like we were just saying, it's got to happen.
Yeah. I'm rooting for San Antonio or Minnesota just because it's nice to see a team like Minnesota even on Kyrie Irving's list. You know what I mean?
But
just the fact that he sees the potential in that team that, this could be the team I lead.
But those two teams being on this list, being on the top 4 of his list, that just shows you that maybe it's not about just having your own team. Because when you really look at it, San Antonio's got Kawhi Leonard. Mm-hmm. And as we were saying, off air, we were just basically saying to each other that, you know what, with San Antonio, it could be his team because Kawhi Leonard is very quiet.
Now, we don't know how he is in the locker room.
No.
But even in that same sentence, it doesn't come out all the time that Kawhi is this great leader.
And like, he doesn't have, I don't really know how to say this, but he doesn't have it's like he doesn't have the responsibilities of being a star on a team, on a big team. Because when you think about it, you look at all these stars on big teams, LeBron James, guys like that. Who's the first one to hit the podium after a big game, after a playoff game, whatever? It's LeBron James. After the coaches, it's LeBron James. Kawhi Leonard is one of the biggest stars, and I've been noticing lately just because of my job and what I do, and we have to get these big guys. We have to get the sound clips from the press conferences and stuff like that. And this year, I was noticing that Kawhi Leonard was one of the players and one of the only stars that would never come up to the podium. And that just shows you,
it's got to be a San Antonio thing.
Yeah, and that just shows you that, you know what, maybe he's not that big of a leader or a star. He doesn't want to be looked at as that big of a star. And there's nothing against him. Nothing against him on that.
No, you might actually even appreciate that in a sense,
absolutely.
that he's not full of himself.
So I can see this being Kyrie's team.
Mm-hmm,
and,
definitely.
Kawhi Leonard just being that Robin to, Batman. But
and that's
Minnesota,
another good quality of Kawhi is that he'll be willing to accept that.
Well, he had it at one point. He was Batman to he was Robin to Duncan. He was Robin to Parker.
His offense has really stepped up crazily the past few years.
Absolutely. But Minnesota is the one team because it's like
I'm rooting for them, honestly.
Jimmy Butler's going to be on that team. You're going to see if they do trade him to Minnesota, you're probably going to see Andrew Wiggins making his way back to Cleveland. And if anybody remembers, Kevin Love was in that trade where Andrew Wiggins was sent to Minnesota for Kevin Love. So bringing back Andrew Wiggins, I can understand because then you can build. Cleveland would have that
still a solid team.
That player to be to build around because LeBron's going to be gone, and I could see that's the reason why probably Kyrie wants out because he knows that LeBron's gone,
yep.
and I could see LeBron's camp leaking this news because now it's looking like, all right, well, I'm not the bad guy anymore, so if I leave, it's going to be because Kyrie left, and I can use that to my advantage where, I'm not the bad guy, Kyrie's the bad guy.
Yeah, and it also goes
because
the other way.
Because LeBron's always the bad guy.
Yeah.
Every move that he's made, he's been the bad guy, except for moving back to Cleveland. But in Miami's eyes, he was the bad guy. Mm-hmm. So,
but in the same sense as what I said before is, if LeBron James did leave next year, he would be seen as the bad guy. But then attention would be drawn to Kyrie because he would want out of Cleveland.
Yeah.
Because LeBron left, and Cleveland probably won't let him go because he's the last superstar on that team, and they're going to try everything they can to sign him. So this kind of just works out for everybody, if you will. Like Kyrie's taking the heat now, but a couple of months from now, whenever he's on his new team, because he will be on a new team,
absolutely.
I feel like that's a given at this point. All this. Kyrie's a bad guy, whatever, which he really isn't. He just wants a chance to be a leader, which honestly we should all applaud.
It's admirable that he's actually willing to leave a team that has gone to 3 straight finals and will be at a 4th straight final if he stayed. I think it opens up now it kind of opens up the door for an East team.
I almost feel like Golden State's just rubbing their hands like,
Oh yeah, they're loving
yes.
this. They're loving this. They're like, all right, well, we might as well just start the renovations for the reservations for the
if you went to
parade
San
and
Antonio,
everything like that. It would be tough, and
That's tough.
100%.
That's a tough series.
But the telling thing in this was that Chauncey Billups, and everybody knows Chauncey Billups was up for the GM, job with the Cavs. Chauncey Billups knew Kyrie wasn't happy. And we all know that Chauncey Billups was like, you know what, I don't want this job anymore. And it's now with everything coming out, you understand why.
Not to mention,
they couldn't even hire anybody outside of their organization. They actually had to use their assistant GM to bring in to take over the GM job.
That's most at fault of Dan Gilbert.
Absolutely.
Since he's bought the Cavs, he has not re-signed any GM.
He's not a good.
That's a problem.
He's not a good owner.
And then when it comes out that he lowballed Chauncey Billups $2 million short of the average annual salary of a GM, you're not doing your job, man. And you're making it so much easier for LeBron James to leave.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you understand. It's probably better off that Chauncey Billups didn't, get this. But this is also another reason why I think Kyrie's definitely got to leave. Is now the Cavs have signed Derrick Rose, so now it's like, all right. And then you saw the tweet for LeBron. LeBron, put up a bunch of Rose emojis, and he said, "Let's go." So that's interesting. Another interesting thing with. Another star maybe leaving, and it could be as early as mid-season this year. Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis has reportedly come out and saying he's tired of losing, but he's optimistic that the Pelicans can get to that point.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I love DeMarcus Cousins. I absolutely love DeMarcus Cousins. But I don't think that team is going to get to a point where they can win. Now, the one team that has been connected with Anthony Davis, and if he went to that team, it makes it very, very interesting. And that's the Boston Celtics. If the Boston Celtics were to make a deal for Anthony Davis, and this is also because
there's no better team in terms of the draft picks and whatnot.
Yeah. And I said the same thing with Kyrie too. We were talking about it, over lunch, that maybe the Cavs don't want to trade Kyrie to the Boston Celtics, but that's the one team that you're probably going to get the most from. So right there, if you were to trade, and this is just me
or Minnesota person,
yeah,
you're getting an established, very good player in Wiggins.
Yeah, but you could be getting a better player in Isaiah Thomas. But when it comes to future though, Andrew Wiggins can be a very, very, very solid, future player. Not that he isn't already, but
he's 22 and he averaged 20-something points this past year.
Exactly,
that's special.
So. It's going to be interesting because the Celtics could potentially send an offer over to the Cavs to see what the deal is, see if it could happen.
I think Isaiah would be involved in the Anthony Davis trade.
Oh yeah, definitely. Do you think so?
I think so because they're not going to sign him to the max.
I don't know if Yeah, that's true.
There's no way they're giving Isaiah Thomas $200 million.
No,
there's no way.
I don't know. That's interesting, because who are you going to have as your point guard then? And I understand, you'd be getting Anthony Davis, but you don't have that guy that kind of. Not that Isaiah Thomas is a.
I think it was in this past playoff series against Cleveland. I think Boston realized that they probably can't win with Isaiah in a sense. Yeah. Now, obviously, they need more pieces, and Anthony Davis will help that extremely well.
And especially now that you got Gordon Hayward back, you got Gordon Hayward to come in now.
I think that was even more of a sign that they're kind of leaning towards away from Isaiah Thomas.
I would trade Al Horford. I would trade Al Horford, and I would even probably give up Jay Crowder.
Especially with the young guys, they got Crowder's kind of on the outside looking in.
And I would use, maybe even put in Jaylen Brown, because if you put Jaylen Brown, you keep Isaiah Thomas. Say you don't even get rid of Al Horford. You use Jay Crowder. You use. They're going to want
Isaiah.
Yeah,
Isaiah's going to have to be in that trade.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, everybody that's watching on Periscope, we can see your comments. Every once in a while I look over and I'll see them. But we're gonna move on from the NBA. We're gonna get into some baseball that we're gonna carry into the next segment quickly. But the Dodgers are the first team to touch 70 wins this year. They are on a roll. Yes, losing Clayton Kershaw hurts. Especially
but if there's any time to do it, it's now.
Yeah,
rather than September.
Especially the season that he's been having.
Yeah, I
15-2. I mean, the guy's having an unbelievable
very
season.
Quiet 15-2. I mean,
yeah, nobody wants to talk, and it's going to go into what we're going to talk about. The top 100 players so far this year in baseball, and we'll talk about how we feel about that whole thing. But we're going to get into some trade rumors when we get back from the break. Yu Darvish is on the block. Justin Verlander's on the block. Sonny Gray definitely.
Yu Darvish, another one of his guys with his list of wants and don't wants. Yeah. So we'll get into that.
It's going to be
a little more crazy and hectic than Kyrie's.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so we're going to get into all of that when we get back. But hey, Tom, doesn't it get annoying when you're watching sports? Let's say you want to send a text to your friend or tweet something out about the game or check your fantasy team, or hey, how about you want to go to the game and even set up a tailgate party, and you have to go to all these different apps, websites, etc. to do all that. What if you could just go to one place for all of this?
Is there just one place?
Would you be interested?
I would be very interested.
Well, I'm here to tell you there is a place like that. Yelphi Sports app. You can get detailed real-time scores, stats, news, rumors, fantasy news, team and player comparisons, built-in social network feature, which is integrated with Twitter and Facebook. Create private one-to-one chats or a group chat with your friends. Buy and sell tickets, host a tailgate party, or even a pickup game. One sports app for all your sports information. Make sure you go download Yelphi Sports app in the iTunes App Store. Yelphi, the only sports app that you need.
All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Hey, this is Jerry Napoleonello, host of Running Up the Score. We are live once every week at 7 p.m. Eastern, where we hit on all the top headlines in the world of sports. You can also find us on Stitcher, iTunes, and those of you that like the visual aspect, check us out on YouTube. Running Up the Score. We run up the score on Sports Radio.
Cyberstation USA is the future of radio. Get your business into the online future at the world's largest internet radio station. From banner placement on our homepage to any of our broadcaster stages, commercials on our video player, audio spots on any of our shows, or at the beginning of any of our on-demand broadcasts. Cyberstation USA offers competitive rates with a worldwide reach. A fully integrated one-stop shop social media broadcast platform. For more information, please contact our sales department at Cameo@cyberstationusa.com.
Hey, this is Tom Galopani, co-host of Running Up the Score. Remember to catch us every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at RUTS Sports. Also, be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes and YouTube, where you will get the full Running Up the Score experience. Running Up the Score. We run up the score on Sports Radio.
All my friends are heathens, take it slow. Wait for them to ask you who.
Now back to Running Up the Score. Here's Jerry and Tom.
Make any sudden moves. You don't know the half of the abuse. All my friends are heathens, take it slow.
All right, we're back running up the score. Be sure to call us in at 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. You can also follow and tweet us at RUTS Sports, as well as follow us on Instagram at the same tag at RUTS Sports. Check out our website, www.rutsports.weebly.com. We're going to get back to where we were before the break. The trade rumors in baseball, it's that time of year. Contenders got to make these certain moves to try to get over the top.
So, Yu Darvish is one of the players that has been talked about in, rumors, trade rumors, and stuff like that. And we were kind of talking about with Kyrie having, a list of teams. Well, Yu Darvish has a list of teams that he doesn't want to go to. He gave the Rangers a list, and there's just like Kyrie, there's some questionable teams on Yu Darvish's list. There's other players that are out there in rumors. Justin Verlander, another pitcher that's that is going to be hard to trade to any other team but a
serious contender.
Basically a World Series contender. Like, I could see him going to Houston. I mean, we got to remember that Verlander is 34 years old. So you're not going to basically keep him for a long time. Mm-hmm.
But he is a big game pitcher. He
is
does
a big game. And he's struggled a little bit this year so far. Yeah. He's starting to pick it up a little bit. But he's one of those guys that can all of a sudden, boom, and he's one of the best pitchers in the league.
Yeah.
And if he goes to a team that is a World Series contender,
that motivates him even more to pitch well.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So I can see him going to potentially the Houston Astros.
I would like that for him.
That's
and
the one
Astros.
team that I think I would absolutely put him next to is the Houston Astros. Sonny Gray, he's another pitcher that is tied to the Yankees.
And you're
tied
not
to
too
the Dodgers.
sold on as a Yankees fan.
I'm not too sold on him because I feel like we haven't seen enough of Sonny Gray to be willing to give up a lot.
I think the biggest question with the Sonny Gray and Yankees is what prospects are you giving up? Are you giving up guys that are close to ready, that are already been called up by the Yankees, or are we talking about these young 18, 19-year-olds?
Well, listen, if I'm the Yankees, the only guys that I am not trading, that I'm not willing to trade, Clint Frazier, who had 2 RBIs today. He's just someone that I'm not even, because there was talks where if Aaron Hicks comes back, or when he comes back, that they would, drop him back into AAA with Clint Frazier. I don't think Clint Frazier is actually making it a very, very hard decision to do that. And you know what? It's going to turn into Jacoby Ellsbury being the highest paid bench player. Because of what Clint Frazier is doing. So he's number one I will not get rid of. Gleyber Torres is another one that I will not get rid of. Chance Adams, another starting pitcher. Justice Sheffield, another pitcher that I'm not willing to get rid of. So you have all these guys. Obviously, an Aaron Judge. At the beginning of the season, I even thought about trading Aaron Judge.
Oh, there was definitely talks and questions about that in the offseason.
But he's really kept up with a very good season so far. So Sonny Gray, there's talks that Oakland really likes Estevan Florial, a 19-year-old outfielder for the Yankees.
Which you guys have a ton of.
Yeah, he's in low A, I think, or high A, something like that. So to me, in a way, like, he's 19 years old. You're not going to see him for another probably 3 or 4 years. So I'm willing to get rid of him. If that's what the Oakland Athletics want, take him. You could take him. And if you're going to get Yonder Alonso as well in this deal, you have Sonny Gray, which is a need at starting pitcher.
Definitely.
And then you got Yonder Alonso, another need at first base, especially that you already killed your need for third base with the Todd Frazier deal. So now it just gets to a point where, all right, what are we going to do with Headley? Let's get rid of him.
Can only hope.
Yeah, exactly. But Yu Darvish gave a list of 10 teams that he will not go to. And they're very interesting teams, and I'll bring them up.
Maybe even more interesting than the teams he does want to go to.
Yeah. And this is his teams that he doesn't want to go to. Baltimore, I
understand. That's okay, Jerry. It's okay. It's okay.
I don't want to, hurt your feelings, but Baltimore's not making the playoffs. They're just not a good team right now.
He probably doesn't like the stadium either.
It's probably going to end up losing Manny Machado as well in the offseason, but we'll see. Boston Red Sox. That was the one team that surprised me. You're looking at a team that's probably the best team, probably the second best team in the AL behind the Houston Astros. But they're a serious World Series contender. Chicago Cubs, they won the World Series last year. Yes, they're struggling this year. But we have to put them
struggling to the point that they're
not going to make the playoffs. Yeah, we got to put them in the playoffs. So, adding a Yu Darvish would be huge for them. Yu Darvish doesn't want to go there. Cleveland Indians, they were in the World Series as well.
One game away.
The Colorado Rockies, who are another team that's on the upswing. The Chicago White Sox, I understand. They're going to be
a couple of years away.
Yeah, they're a couple of years away. Detroit, I understand. Oakland, I understand. Pittsburgh and Toronto, I understand. He's free. He's willing to go to the Dodgers. He's willing to go to the Yankees, and he's willing to go to Houston. Three teams that will obviously be playoff teams. Houston is a World Series contender. The Dodgers, they're the first team that hit 70 wins, so they're a World Series contender as well. They're having a Seattle Mariners type season.
They are.
So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with Yu Darvish, but he's the one guy out of the three that we have here that there's a potential that he doesn't get traded, and we understand that.
But he's making it kind of hard for himself to get traded.
Well, yeah, you're taking, now you basically
took out a third of the league.
Exactly. The Red Sox made a trade. They got Eduardo Nunez, an ex-Yankee, in a trade. They need a third baseman, so
he's a good filler guy. He's
absolutely.
a good player.
It's not going to be
it's not going to be the difference. Yeah, no, I got you. It's a nice little pickup.
Now we're off to the disturbing news. We're in the NFL, and there was a report or an article that came out discussing CTE, and they came up with the number of 99%. 99% of players that have donated their brains to this lab have shown signs of CTE. And the number is 110 out of 111. That's scary.
It's not what you want to hear as a fan, a parent, spouse, whatever, anything. That's just not what you want to hear.
Absolutely not. So, the article here, as I bring it up, now this isn't just NFL players. There's 102 players that were, that had their brains looked at. 111 of them played in the NFL. And as I said, 110 of those players were found to have chronic traumatic encephalopathy,
you went for
something
it.
like that. Yeah, I figured I'd try. Encephalopathy or something like that.
You had it first. You almost had it.
I think it's chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
You see, you start out so promising.
Yeah, encephalopathy.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. CT. All right.
That's kind of why they
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a degenerate disease. Obviously, everybody knows what this disease is. They had 44 of these players were linemen. 20 of them were running backs, 17 of them were defensive backs, 13 linebackers, 7 quarterbacks, 5 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, 1 place kicker, and 1 punter.
The only thing I kind of don't like what they did with this is they took guys from positions that are basically guaranteed to have it in a sense. You know what I mean?
Yep.
With the running backs, with the linemen, they're banging each other all game in a sense. If you're a running back and you have a ball, you are getting hit.
Oh, absolutely.
So I just don't really like that they took just linemen mostly and just running backs mostly.
They took a punter.
He was probably the one that didn't show up.
The age ranges at the time of the death. Now we also have to realize that this disease has yet to be I guess found until death. Basically, like they can't.
Yeah,
they don't know.
It's kind of hard to pick at a brain when you're alive.
Yeah, they don't know if you have it until you pass away. The age ranges at the time of death. There was 8, 40 or under. 44 of 41 to 69, and 58 of 70 and older. Now, a lot of this is, basically, people are worried about, just mood changes, depression, suicide. Now, with this article coming out, a lot of people have their own opinion about it. And the biggest question that everybody asks is...
And has been asking for past few years.
Since this really came out. If you have a kid, if you haven't had a kid yet and you're going to, are you willing to let them play the game of football? And I'm going to ask you first, are you willing to, when you do have a kid, let your kid play football?
It's such a weird question in a way, because in the sense, like any great parent, you want your kid to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
So it's just picturing like a 5 to 8-year-old coming up to me as my child and saying, "Dad, I really want to play football." It would be so hard to say no to that kid right in his face and say the reason is I don't want you to get CTE when you're, like how.
Yeah, I understand.
How do you have that conversation with an 8-year-old? I guess what I think I would do at this time, it's hard to say because I don't have kids.
Yeah.
I would let them and just pray they didn't fall in love with it, and it's not something they wanted to continue to play. And it's not just the CTE. It's not a good league. They don't take care of their players, whereas in every other sport is so much less physically demanding besides hockey, and you're getting so much more money, so much more guaranteed money.
Yeah.
That it's just not worth it. It's really just not worth it to play football.
All right. So now, there's never going. I've gotten to the point where I understand the side of not letting your kid play football. I understand it.
I do too.
It's scary. It is scary. But it gets to a point where, why are you going to be the reason for your kid to not do something he's passionate about?
Exactly.
Listen, this is the way I would do it, all right? I don't have kids either yet. I plan on having kids, obviously.
Yep.
I'm hoping to have a boy.
As we all do.
I am not going to stop him from playing football. I'm not. And I'm never going to have that conversation of you're not allowed to play this sport. I'm going to sit down with him and I'll tell him, listen, this is the potential of what can happen.
Show them the good and the bad, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Listen, I love the sport of football, and
As I do.
and it sickens me to see that all these people are saying I'm not going to let my kid play football, and then it's like when you start to think about it, it's like, what's going to happen to this sport? What is really going to happen to this sport? And you ask all these NFL players, these ex-NFL players, if they knew what we know right now, would you still play football? Majority of them, it's kind of 50-50 actually, where they're like, all right, absolutely I'm going to play. This is what I was passionate about.
Yep.
There's nothing like playing the game of football. And I understand it.
Yep.
Listen, I'm passionate about football. I'm passionate about baseball. I'm absolutely going to have my kid play baseball. Like I'm going to push baseball.
Me too.
Because I love baseball. That
too.
was my sport. I played baseball my whole entire life. I just started playing football within the last 5 or 6 years. I do feel like I'm better at football though, which is odd. But I am not going to sit there. I'm not going to have a sit down. And I hear all these hosts. I mean, I've been listening to sports radio since this thing came out. And even when, we started talking about CTE, basically every host is saying, I am not going to let my kid play football. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to have that sit down with my kid and say, you can't play the sport. Because if I had that sit down with my parents and they told me that I cannot,
even more.
It would make you want to do it more, obviously. But like I don't want to regret anything, and I also don't want to. What's the word I'm looking for? Basically, not. I don't want to be hated for a decision I made for my kid. I want him to make the decision. So to me, I'm not going to have that decision. I want him to have the decision. It's in his hands. I will let him know what he needs to know when it comes to football, and then the rest is up to him. The rest is up to him.
Now, I know it's kind of a weird comparison, if you will, but don't you think, how do you think conversations go with 17 and 18-year-olds and their parents about joining the military? It's almost the same thing, if not worse.
Oh, absolutely.
In a sense that, how are you as a parent going to tell your child that is an adult technically in the world's eye that they can't do that?
Yeah.
You can't. It's what they're passionate. It's what they want to do.
Absolutely.
You cannot stop them. Now, obviously, the age thing is the only difference with this, because you start football at 6, 7, 8 now, but it's kind of the same thing in the sense of, obviously the military is dangerous. You could potentially die, and football has the CTE problem. But how can you as a parent tell your kid that, looking them in the eyes, seeing the passion that they have for what they want to do, and tell them, no, I cannot do that.
No.
I don't have kids, so I don't. It's hard to say that right now, but just picturing that, it would be almost impossible for me to say no.
That's always going to be the argument towards like people like us that don't have kids, and that's always going to be the saying, well, you don't have kids, so you don't know. It doesn't matter, because when I do end up having a kid, I'm not going to change my opinion about it.
No, I hear you.
Like I said, I am going to be basically telling them everything they need to know, because it goes to everything else. What's the risk of driving a car?
Yep.
You're obviously going to sit down and have that discussion with your parents or with your kid and say, listen, you're turning 16, you're about to get your permit. This is the risks of driving a car. And you're not going to be like, you know what? You're not driving a car. You're not driving a car until you leave this house.
Yep.
You have to let the person live. You have to let your kid live. You have to let your kids do things that, maybe you don't feel good about, but it's a way to, and again, I'm not a parent, you're not a parent, so, people that are parents are going to look at us, sideways. But I just feel like you have to let your kid do something just so they learn.
Exactly. Let them learn the negative side of football.
Because if you keep stopping the kid before, something negative or what. It's just you're gonna basically, you might as well put your kid in a bubble.
Exactly. If your kid, 7, 8, 9, 10 says they want to play football, let them play a year, 2.
Yeah. See
how they feel about it. If it's something they want to continue, obviously, as I said before, that's what I hope doesn't happen. I hope, if my kids do want to play football, they just flat out don't enjoy it and want to stick to baseball or other sports. But if it's something they're passionate about and they're good at, especially, who are you to stop them?
Yeah. Because, what if the kid is good enough to make it to the next level? And
not even just the next
money.
level, maybe even just college, getting a free scholarship.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I just, altogether, I just feel like, it's
a tough one. It's a very tough one.
It's definitely a tough thing. But,
speaking of tough,
Monday morning quarterback.
It's getting tougher. I was going to say the Cowboys, but
well, yeah, it is getting tough for the Cowboys, but we'll get into that after this real quick. Monday morning quarterback has come up with a top 400 players list. So we obviously all know about the top 100 with NFL Network, and not many people were happy about it. So they had this top 400 for Monday morning quarterback, and I guess we can give you some questionable ones, and we'll give you the obviously the ones that you need to know. Obviously, if anybody thought number 1 was going to be any different, you're not watching the sport. It's Tom Brady. Number 2 is J.J. Watt, which is interesting.
Shouldn't be there.
Don't get me wrong. He is a very disruptive
when he's
player
actually playing.
When he's playing. So I don't oppose it. I mean,
I'll be that guy. He played 3 games last year?
Yeah.
Get over it. I'm sorry, but we have to see more at this point.
Yeah. Von Miller is number 3. Luke Kuechly is number 4. I love Luke Kuechly.
I do too.
I love.
I love a good
about
middle linebacker. It's my favorite position to watch in football.
This is questionable from me.
Ooh.
Le'Veon Bell is 5.
He's good and
another one
very
that has
dynamic,
to be able to stay on the field.
Yeah. He's one suspension away from a year off in football, by the way.
I just don't see how Aaron Rodgers is number 6 and you have these 4 in front of him. He's better at his position. I mean, you can even say Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the league, and that would put him at number 1. But there's no way that he should not be number 2.
Yes.
To me. I'm sorry.
I would agree.
Rob Gronkowski's number 7.
No, absolutely. Who's banking this?
This is Peter King. This is Peter King.
This is 100% triggering me.
Khalil Mack.
Okay.
8.
I could support that.
Julio Jones 9.
Support that.
Antonio Brown 10. Tyron Smith number 11. I like that.
I like showing some love for the offensive line.
Yeah,
okay.
and he's the best.
No, he is. He is very good.
It looks like Ben Roethlisberger is the third best quarterback.
He is so much help. He gets so much credit from Antonio Bell and Le'Veon Bell that all he has to do is throw it 5 yards down the field to Antonio Brown, and the next thing you know, it's a touchdown because of Antonio Brown.
I don't like the Michael Bennett being 17.
It's my favorite number too.
Travis Frederick, I like.
Okay, your line's getting some love, as they should.
Odell is number 23. Zach Martin, 24. So the Cowboys have three in the top 30.
Wow.
So you keep going up. Eric Berry, I like. Matt Ryan being number 28.
And the 4th quarterback? Brady, Rodgers, Roethlisberger.
Yeah, the 4th quarterback. Sean Lee, 29. I like that. Andrew Luck, 30.
I never was a big I thought he was just always overhyped in a sense.
Drew Brees, 37. I don't want to keep going through this, but if you have the chance, go look up.
It's very interesting. It's getting my attention.
Yeah, Monday morning quarterback. You could check it out.
Oh, is that Jaguar up there?
Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah.
Look at that.
Telvin Smith, linebacker. Ezekiel Elliott, 56.
I mean, he's a good running back, but I literally feel like any running back would be good on that line.
Yeah.
But obviously, it comes to a point when you're not even near your offensive line, and it comes down to you. So I give him that. But I feel like anybody could average almost 4 yards as a Cowboys running back.
Giants fans are going to be like upset here because we're about up to we're past 100.
I saw the first one on my team.
Eli is now 104. And you know all these Giant fans love Eli Manning.
Well, now this is hard to measure because we don't. Is this like
This
based
is just
off last
overall.
year?
No,
or
this
just
is overall.
I thought he would get a little more love than that than overall because he's obviously had some, not so good seasons the past few years.
I mean, look at Dwight Freeney, a free agent. He's ranked 257. Dak Prescott is in the 200s here. I don't know where there he is. 223. So
my only thing with Dak is we've seen things with quarterbacks before where it's like a 1 year thing. So I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying
listen, I'm 110% for that because I've questioned Dak for a little while.
Let's give it a few years at that. Let's give teams a chance to adjust, if you will.
Speaking of the Dallas Cowboys are heading into camp, being headline news. Headline news every single day. I feel like somebody's getting arrested every day.
Their reporters might make more money in the offseason than the actual season. 100%.
And it's like, so now the biggest thing is Lucky Whitehead. As we said before, he was claimed by the New York Jets. He, as I said, his name doesn't
did not help him
fit.
out. Yeah.
What's going on with him. He had the dog kidnapped. I think we were able to talk about that last week. And then someone used his identity to steal a Twinkie.
Now, the problem with this is 100% on the police, by the way.
Absolutely.
And I 197% support every police and all service workers. Police goofed on this one.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
When you say you're an NFL player, it's just anyone fingerprint them. How hard is it to bring them to a station and fingerprint somebody?
Exactly. It was just very interesting.
It was very odd.
I mean, because then Lucky Whitehead said I wasn't even in the state of Virginia at that time, and it's like, well, what's going on here? And the Cowboys didn't even take a second. They released him, and everybody's saying that this looks bad. And I understand that it looks bad because it does. You don't really do your due diligence on because of everything's going on.
When Ezekiel Elliott's having going,
and that's the thing. If it wasn't. With the problems of the rest of the players on the team, then it'd be, all right, well, you know what? They were just quick to pull the trigger. They don't want him around. They don't want any, drama. They don't want any problems. But the Cowboys, their middle name is drama. And to have Ezekiel Elliott that's, had like 3 or 4 incidents in the span of, Lucky Whitehead having his dog kidnapped and Lucky Whitehead stealing a Twinkie.
Poor guy. Now he's on the Jets. This poor
true.
Dude.
That's true. I didn't even think of that. That's
poor guy. Oh my goodness.
I feel bad for him. But just overall, it just looks bad on the Cowboys.
The worst week of your life.
It's just you're unlucky.
You went from a Super Bowl contender to the Jets because someone used your identity to steal a Twinkie.
I mean, it doesn't get worse than that. That's like something that you would see in a movie.
Cannot make that up. That's good.
Just the fact, I understand where everybody's coming from with the Dallas Cowboys. I understand that it looks bad. It looks bad.
It does.
But when you really think about it, I think it was just a reason to cut him. I think he was going to get cut anyway because they drafted Ryan Switzer, who they basically feel will be the kick returner. And, Lucky Whitehead was a borderline good kick returner. That was it.
He's replaceable.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they found it in Ryan Switzer. And, this was just like a reason to get rid of him earlier than they planned on it. I don't know what to say about the Dallas Cowboys. You're hoping now that they're in camp, they have them under control, they have them in their sights, and nothing else will happen until
Just a side note,
the off season actually.
Before we get out of here, I think they need to Des Bryant, Ezekiel Elliott, in the sense of having someone with him.
Yeah.
When Des had all his problems at first, they kind of stuck someone with him. They need to do that with Elliott.
Yeah.
They need to.
He needs to mature a little bit.
Definitely. And that's actually, support. I don't want to say support, but came out and said, he's young, he's dumb,
Exactly.
he's making mistakes,
Exactly.
but he's going to grow up. And look at Dez. I mean, we haven't heard anything come from Dez.
Well, except for him showing up 3 hours to.
Because he was doing a charity barbecue.
Yeah.
Oh God, what a terrible human being he is.
Yeah, and he was sick too. So it's just whenever you're a Dallas Cowboy, you're always going to be headline news. You're always going to be headline news.
Yep.
But another headline news is UFC 214. If you watch UFC or you
dabble in a little bit.
This is a fight to watch.
Yeah.
These two absolutely hate each other. John Jones, Daniel Cormier. Be sure, just stay tuned throughout the week. I mean, even last week. By the way, UFC on Fox was at the Coliseum on Saturday. Chris Weidman fought, won it.
Yeah.
But in between the co-main event and the main event, they actually had an interview with both of them. Where Daniel Cormier was in his place, John Jones was in his place. They actually had a conversation, and these guys just absolutely hate each other, and I love it. It's going to be a great fight.
Makes it even better.
This is the second one. This is obviously the background of this is what makes this better.
Is this it got canceled because of the snow day?
No. This is the second fight. John Jones beat Daniel Cormier in the first one. They were scheduled to fight their second fight after John Jones had his suspension. Mm-hmm. They get down to the weigh-in, and all of a sudden, I think right after the weigh-in, it came down that John Jones failed a drug test.
Yes.
Daniel Cormier was pissed.
Yeah.
Daniel Cormier ended up getting the title belt because of that. And John Jones was suspended for 2 years, I believe it was. So this is the first fight for John Jones since coming back. And they hate each other.
This is juicy.
Daniel Cormier has the title belt. But not because he beat John Jones, because they handed it to him. John Jones feels that he should still have the belt.
No.
He feels that Daniel Cormier should not have that belt. And he feels like, he's like, Daniel Cormier didn't beat me.
I agree with that sense.
But he beat himself.
I was just going to say, I agree with that sense that Cormier should not have it, but neither should John Jones.
Yeah.
Because you played yourself.
Yeah. And I'm excited for this fight. I'm excited to see John Jones.
You got me hyped
fight
in the last 2 minutes. That sounds very good.
It's definitely going to be an interesting fight. I can't wait for the weigh-in. The weigh-in. I mean, sometimes the weigh-ins are even more interesting than the fight's going to be. And you'll have the weigh-in on Friday, probably FS1. So check that out. Tonight is the Gold Cup. USA versus Jamaica. So if you want to check that out, if you like soccer, you check that out. It's on FS1 at 9 p.m. Eastern. So check that out. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, at RUTS Sports. Like us on Facebook. Share. If you do like us on Facebook, share us around. We want to get around. Come on.
Yeah, we want to go global here.
Yeah. So, just be sure to tune in the next month and a half, 2 months.
It's going to be... As each week, progresses now, it's going to be getting better in terms of football's coming around.
Yeah.
Basketball's going to start coming back around. Hockey's going to start coming back around.
Yeah.
I think we did pretty good for what we had to work with.
Yeah. So, definitely tune in the next month and a half or so. It's going to be an interesting month and a half. So that will do it for running up the score. That will do it. How about that? Good show.
It was.
I'm Jerry.
We somehow make it work, and I'm Tom.
Be breezy.
Be breezy. You've been listening to Running Up the Score. We run up the score on Sports Radio.